As you know this, almost 100 years, our parent company, Disney, has been a household name. Now, since taking over the helm in 2005, Bob Iger has transformed Disney into a worldwide media empire whose top 3 grossing films in the U.S. have hit, are you ready for this, over $6 billion in box office sales worldwide. In 2018 alone, 150 million people visited Disney parks worldwide, including the monumental Shanghai Disney Resort. Under Bob's leadership, Disney acquired 4 powerhouse companies: Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, and 21st Century Fox. And the person behind it all is here live with us this morning, Disney Chairman and CEO Bob Iger, who is hoping to help others achieve success by sharing his top principles on leadership. It's in his brand new book. It's called The Ride of a Lifetime: Lessons Learned from 15 Years as CEO of the Walt Disney Company. You better give it up for Bob Iger right now. No pressure.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
As I said about, there's no pressure at all interviewing Bob. None whatsoever. None.
We're old friends.
Yes, we are old friends. And when you see the scope and magnitude, what goes through your mind first?
Well, it seems like an out-of-body experience a bit. You know, I started at this company at ABC 45 years ago as a studio supervisor, working on shows like AM America, which was the precursor to Good Morning America, and ABC Sports and a lot of other things, never expecting that I would end up having the opportunity to run one of the greatest companies in the world. So I'm deeply appreciative. I try to remain humble. Sometimes it's not an easy thing. But you know, I love what I do. I love the people I work with. I love the ride of the lifetime that I've had.
You make it look so easy, the grace. And I know, I just have to quick aside, my mama met Bob at a wedding way back when, in the 80s. And Bob actually gave her his business card. That tells you how long ago it was. And it was just, and my mom said at that time, Bob, and my mom was very intuitive, and I've talked about my mom-in-law, and she said there was something about you. And when I thought I knew a lot about you, having known you for so long, but reading your book, when you talk about your family, and I think this is something that a lot of folks are going to relate to. Your father, a loving man, but had his issues, had his challenges. And you said you could tell by his footsteps when he came home what dad was showing up.
Yes, he was a loving father and a great influence on my life. He was intellectually curious, and he pushed me to be productive all the time. Which I guess in a way was like saying to his son, don't waste your time. Maybe it sounds a bit harsh, but that's just who he was. But he also had severe depression, manic depression, and it created incredible mood swings. And so it was quite unpredictable. He was unpredictable, and we never quite knew what father would be coming home, whether he'd be in one of his down moods or one of his up moods. But it was something my sister and I learned to live with over the years. Reflecting on it, I think it was probably a little bit more difficult than I even imagined at the time, but it also created resilience and an ability to just understand that the world was far from perfect and people were far from perfect, even loved ones. And that mental illness was in fact just that, an illness.
And I know, and I appreciate, and because many people have dealt with that in their own families. And your work ethic, I mean, it's been unbelievable, and you want to share, and you do that. What are the top principles that you learned that you think can help others?
Well, clearly, liking what you do and applying yourself, working hard. I think my self-satisfaction comes mostly from the fact that I feel like I've put in the work, and that feels great. There are a number of things. I talk a lot about the need to be optimistic. That's mostly a leadership principle. People don't like to follow pessimists, for instance. It's particularly true in the military when you think about it. I like taking bold steps. I think in today's world, with all the change that is around us, that being timid and in some form or another trying to protect the status quo does not make any sense, doesn't work. So I like being risky or not being risk averse. It's really important to be focused and to be decisive, and of course to treat people fairly and well, and to be accessible, to be communicative, tell people what you expect of them, as a, for instance, to set standards and to live by them. So there are a number of things that I talk about in the book that have served me well. I try not to be too presumptuous about them, meaning they serve me well. I hope that they will work for others, but I don't know for sure.
And that's how it comes across, and that is something that was pervasive throughout the book about your optimism. That was quite apparent. Also, and I told you this, Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple. Oh my goodness, you are newly in your tenure as CEO, and that wasn't a given. And you write about that too, about how tenuous it was. So you're new on the job, and you're like, we're going to acquire Pixar, which was really big at the time. And the relationship between Pixar and Disney wasn't at its best. So 30 minutes before this acquisition is going to be announced, Steve Jobs shares something very personal with you.
Right. Steve was the controlling shareholder of Pixar. He had bought it from George Lucas, owned half of it, and we decided to acquire Pixar for $7.4 billion in 2005.
Excuse me, I love how you,
yeah.
744.
Small deal. It was a small deal.
And you're new on the job.
I talked about being bold earlier.
Right.
And we were announcing the deal at Pixar when the stock market closed, about 1 o'clock in the Pacific Coast. And he asked me an hour before to go for a walk. And we went for a walk on the Pixar campus, beautiful campus, sat on a bench, put his arm behind me, and said, I'm going to tell you something that only my wife and my doctor knows. And I said, what's that? And he said, I have cancer. Again, he had had cancer a few years earlier, announced that he was cured, and he said, it's back. And I said, well, why are you telling me this? And he said, I'm giving you a chance to back out of the deal. And I looked at my watch, and I realized we're announcing this deal in, well, less than an hour at that point. I had no idea what to do. And he had made me promise not to tell anyone. And so I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it, ultimately decided there was no way I could back out of the deal, since I couldn't really counsel anyone about, or ask for anybody's counsel. I just made that decision, and out we went and announced this deal, the two of us standing on a podium smiling, holding that Pixar lamp, if you've seen the Pixar logo, as though nothing had happened. And meanwhile, inside me, I'm in tears, I'm crying actually within, knowing that I'm standing with someone who I admired greatly and had such a positive influence on the world, that he might not be around very long.
And you're married to Willa Bay, who knows Steve, knew him very well, and how you wrote about how emotional it was that night when you went home. And Willow has really been one who has said to you, be bold and to take risks. What is the one risk that you took? I mean, here at Pixar, and then Marvel, and then Lucasfilm, and others as well. But what is the one that kept you up most at night?
I've been really lucky over the years in that I sleep well, and I don't suffer from great anxiety over these decisions that we've made. And so while they all seem very risky, I was determined in each case to see the deals through, and I believed in them so much, mostly because in all of those acquisitions we were acquiring people, in that each company that we bought, Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, and 21st Century Fox, had great talent there. And I just knew that if we showed them respect, gave them support, that they would continue to thrive even under Disney. So I didn't really lose sleep over those things. I'm fortunate, I guess, over the years that maybe it's enabled me to be a little bit more bold than perhaps I would have been, that I just don't lose sleep.
That's
I don't
wonderful.
get much sleep.
I don't get much. But can I just say Wakanda Forever? Yes. Thank you very much. That was bold. That was big. And there were some folks that were saying, Bob, that's never going to work.
Yes, and making Black Panther, it's interesting because you asked whether I lost sleep. That I definitely didn't lose sleep over. I did not think that was a risk. I believed strongly in the need to tell stories involving more diverse people and essentially telling stories that better reflected the world that we live in. That's a far more diverse world than ever before. And it was time that we made a superhero film, a Marvel film, starring a black character with a predominantly black cast. And we put it in the hands of a director and a creator named Ryan Coogler, who had done 2 movies, Fruitvale Station and Creed. And he was just brilliant. And although he was young, in his early 30s, and had never done a movie of that scale, he had such a great vision for that film that we just gave him the support that he needed and went along for the ride. And it was a great one. I think one of the highest moments, maybe a moment that I felt more pride than ever before, was bringing Black Panther out, showing it to the world. I remember being at the premiere and sitting for the first time with an audience. In fact, I think you and I might have communicated right after that, because you came to the New York premiere.
Right. And
just feeling such a strong sense of pride and accomplishment, not necessarily for me, but for the company, for Marvel, and for Ryan Coogler. And that brilliant cast and costume designers and set designers and the music was tremendous. It was an artistic accomplishment that had a huge cultural impact.
It did, and it was all about business as well. In the time that we have remaining, I could ask you what you're doing next. I don't know if it's going to be going back to your roots. Do you know that he was a weatherman? Oh. Yeah, did you know that? Also, he started, was it at Ithaca? You were a little reporter. But don't trust me.
Oh, don't show that
Oh, here we
footage.
go. Roll the tape.
Tonight, a look at Ithaca College winter weekend, a new campus credit union, and pluses and minuses are reinstated. Also, a sampling of student opinion on a drug policy for Ithaca College, and a summary of this week's sports events.
That
Good
is
evening,
talent.
I'm Bob Iger.
Your voice. Well, what is next, Bob? I mean, because 2021 is going to be coming up. What's next?
I don't know what's next. I've, as I said earlier, I've been at this for 45 years, and I've had a great ride. I've loved every moment of it. And I have no need to make any plans right now post-Disney. Maybe I'll just go to Disneyland. They say, what are you going to do next? Go to Disneyland.
That would be a good line.
I'd have to wait online, though.
I know that. No, I got to tell you, it's been a heck of a ride, and thank you for taking us along on that ride with you.
Pleasure.
All
Thank you for having me.
Okay, Ginger, The Ride of a Lifetime, Lessons Learned from 15 Years as CEO of the Walt Disney Company is out today. Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.